Kenn Rashad, HBCU Sports. Without question, Tennessee State has probably been the most talked about HBCU in the country, especially over the last 2-3 weeks. And the person responsible for all of that buzz is my special guest right now. I'm fortunate to be joined by Tennessee State Director of Athletics, Dr. Mikki Allen. Dr. Allen, thank you so much, sir, for taking a few minutes to talk to me. Needless to say, for a person who hasn't even been on the job for a year, I'm guessing that you've just simply come out of the gates, guns blazing. Real quick, talk about what the transition to becoming the new AD at TSU and how the ride has been up to this point.
It's been great, man. Taking over for Teresa Phillips. She had a long term at Tennessee State University, and during my interview process, I talked about, the future of TSU athletics, and we sat down, me and Teresa, and talked about what I could bring to the table to really, take Tennessee State athletics to that next level. And that's my fundraising experience. I spent a decade at Tennessee, really bringing a lot of revenue generation to a lot of facilities there at Tennessee. I've had a lot of involvement in capital campaigns and, the annual funds. So really bringing that experience to an illustrious program like Tennessee State University, that's what I want my legacy to be built on, is really connecting this proud university to the city of Nashville. Nashville's a great city. It's one of the top 3 cities in the country. We have a lot to offer a student and a student athlete. So really just bringing, a lot of the fundraising, a lot of the private and corporate support to our athletic programs, so our student athletes can have a first-class experience. They can have the resources to compete for championships, both conference and national championships. And then I really feel wholeheartedly that support, that engagement externally will really be vital and critical to the landscape of our whole university. We have a great mission, great leadership, and Dr. Glover, and we're moving in a direction through this exciting time. We're coming off the heels of a pandemic, but we've been doing a lot of things to change the profile here at our university, specifically on the athletic side. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah, we've seen branding changes and logo changes, and we can talk about that, until just a lot of fascinating things that's gone on with the program. But I'm sure everybody wants to talk about the hiring of your new head coach, Eddie George, who in his own self is a legend and well respected there in the Nashville community. Talk about. We kind of know the story behind it, and he alluded to the fact that, he really had no desire to become a head coach, but it was somewhat of a selling job that you and Dr. Glover had to kind of take it upon yourself to kind of bring him on the idea. Talk about that for a moment, and just how difficult was it, if it was difficult at all?
Yeah, we made the initial call, and at first it took Eddie George by surprise, right? So I know initially he probably thought that, hey, you got the AD and the president of Tennessee State University on the hotline, and they probably asked me for a major gift, but that was not the fact, right? We were asking him to step in a role in a leadership capacity and lead our proud football program to the next level, right? And presenting that to him, yes, there was some soul searching. If you listen to Eddie in interviews and during a press conference, he talked about that process, just taking the information in and, just going through the different processes that he had to go through to just do some soul searching on, hey, how would I lead the program? How would I feel? So many great coaches that have been at Tennessee State University, such as John Merritt and others, and, the legacy of the program. He's very aware of just the players that have come from this university, being, Hall of Famers like Richard Dent and Claude Humphreys and the great Jefferson Street Joe Gilliam, and, coaches like Joe Gilliam Sr. and, there's your Buddy Cole and Coach Coleman. And there's just been so many, great legendary individuals that have touched this campus. And he was just trying to ponder on, hey, if I'm in that role, how do I deliver? If
Right.
you look through the years at Eddie George's career, both on the field and off the field, he's had a lot of firsts, right? Being on Broadway and being an
Right.
entrepreneur and
Right.
being in the business sector, right? But he's always come through. He's always delivered because he's always done his homework. He's always done the due diligence of trying to figure out, hey, how do I fit in? How do I win with this situation? And how do I bring the skill sets that I have in me to the table? And there's going to be no different in this role. And that's what we talked about as we were trying to sell Eddie George on Tennessee State. He's been a pillar of the Nashville community for over 25 years. He's a face of Nashville. He's a face of Tennessee football. He's a legend in his own right. He's someone that could possibly put on a yellow jacket himself. And I'm just so proud that and just so blessed that we have someone that is always represented themselves in a first class manner, that has a lot to offer to our young men and our student athletes on the football side, but has a lot to offer not only to our university, but to our student body and our community at large. And that's what we're solely fixed on in terms of the trajectory of not only Tennessee State University athletics, but our entire university. And Eddie George is going to be a huge part of really transforming our program and our university. So I'm proud about that.
Needless to say, it obviously is a high-profile hire, and when you put in consideration the hire that Tennessee State made with Eddie George, and then of course the hire of Deion Sanders down at Jackson State. As great as the news was, it didn't come with without some form of controversy with respect to the fact that there were those who, and maybe even yours truly who included, who maybe indicated that maybe hires like this, when you put in consideration coaches who didn't necessarily have the experience of coaching at the collegiate level, that maybe some way, somehow, this may have denied an opportunity from, say, a coach who does have quite a bit of body of work and who might be looking for that opportunity to become a head coach at a Division I institution. What do you say to those individuals who made that argument?
Well, the formula of success looks different for various people, various situations. In our specific situation, I was looking for someone that was a great football mind. It's undoubtedly that Eddie George, if you've ever watched him play, when he played, he was a leader. He was someone that really was passionate about the game. All of his teammates, if you touched them and they talked about what he meant to them, when he led, they followed, and he got the best out of the people that he played around, right? And that's an intangible that fits coaching, right? You've seen him on College Football Game Day. You've seen him on Fox. He's been in arenas and he's been on a stage where he's articulated what he would do situationally, what he would do, as someone that's looking at the game from a large lens. So he's been communicating that. It's now taking that experience, right, and taking those things as a player and someone that's articulated, the game, and just bringing that on the sidelines and transferring it to our young people. There are individuals that, have been in the industry and they've been doing it, at the high school level, at the collegiate level. But at the end of the day, a lot of them emailed me. They
Right.
weren't a fit what we were trying to do as a program. And so you look at the NBA. The NBA has Steve Nash and Steve Kerr. Steve
Right.
Kerr's won multiple championships with the Golden State Warriors. There was no traditional way, right, that he sat in
Right.
that seat, right? There's a responsibility that comes with that seat, that individual, they have a lot of different skill sets. Can they get buy-in at the collegiate level? There's a fundraising component. There's getting buy-in for people to support you financially to move your programs forward. There's a lot of high school coaches and a lot of coaches at the collegiate level that can't do that, right? There's a lot of high school coaches and collegiate coaches that have been extraordinary, right, in what they do because they have great coaching staffs, right? Well, George can put a great coaching staff together, and I can't wait to release that information on who's going to be behind this movement, who's going to be behind this leader, and they're going to allow him to lead, but there are going to be individuals that bring a lot of experience in various ways to the table and to our university and to our young people. So I'm excited about that because we're going to have individuals on both sides of the ball that you would want to come and say, if they came into your household, if you were a parent and say, hey, come in. We want to talk to you, coach, and we believe in you. We know where you've been, and we know where you're going to take our young man. My young man, not only as a student, right, and a student athlete, but we know how that experience, when we let him play for you, is going to have on his life, as a young man after sport. And that's what we're in business for. That's the missing element that I believe that gets lost in college athletics, but that you have to surround your young man or your young lady with someone that holistically can develop them, right? And change their lives and build them and give them the skill set to succeed and then go represent your university after sports, because you're not always play this game. And when you look back at Eddie George's history, you talk about someone that's built a brand, not only as an athlete, but as an individual in various arenas where he's always had exemplary success. That's what we got right now as our head football coach, our 22nd head football coach, and I couldn't be proud.
Right. So you talked about the history of Eddie George. Successful on the football field, retired, successful in the business world. So would you say that bringing him on, or the possibility of considering him for the position, was the decision to bring Eddie George on, was it driven more by football or by financial prospects?
No, it's football first. Now, it's always, that's the core of what we're trying to do. We're trying to win championships. I mentioned in my press conference, we're unique, being a prominent HBCU with an illustrious history. If you look back at Tennessee State athletics, whether it's been track and field, you look at even swimming, basketball with Coach McClendon, you look at, football with the success that Merritt had, and some of our other coaches that led us to 13 Black national titles, right? Our last championship was 1999 in the OVC. So what we're trying to do is get back to that. That's the first step, is get back and fix football. And the way you fix football is from the top down, from the president down. There has to be an alignment from the president, the AD, and who's leading your football program. When you have homecomings, and there's a lot of HBCUs that have great homecomings, everybody's coming back in droves to be a part of such an important community, and be a part in that, and that's driven by football. And that's where we have to get it fixed, and we had to have someone that understood all the facets of how things fit, right? The parts have to fit. And Eddie George, when we looked at the candidates that had emailed us and contacted us, and we looked at what Eddie George could bring, I think that was the motivating factor, that Eddie George could get our football program back to national prominence. And he could do it in a way that, it could be unconventional. It's an unconventional hire. It's a bold move. But, Dion has showed that there's a lot of enthusiasm that comes with someone that brings a lot of elements outside of what some of the traditional hires have been in the past in HBCU sports and Power 5 sports. So that's what we got.
It's been, I guess not quite 3 weeks yet. And have you seen any noticeable difference, say, in alumni giving or fundraising since the news of Eddie George being named head coach?
Ken, I'm glad you asked that. Absolutely, yes, man. The phones have been ringing off the hook. We have season tickets that have gone on sale. Obviously, we're unique too. We have two stadiums. We have a partnership where Eddie played and he grinded, right, as a running back with the Titans. So we're proud about that. That's a different dynamic because we have an opportunity where we can go out and sell the fact that our student athletes that we're recruiting can play in an NFL stadium, downtown Nashville. We also can service our student athletes and have games on campus at William Jasper Hill Stadium that's been servicing the university since 1953. But we've launched the Tennessee State Athletic Fund. I'm proud about that because that speaks to my leadership, right? Just to have that infrastructure from a giving standpoint, in place, and it coincided with this hire. So it was released the day that Eddie George was hired. There's 5 areas of giving, legacy gifts being endowments. Our general annual fund is tied to tickets, and becoming a member, you get benefits such as ticket benefits for football and other sports. But we also have sports specific giving. So there's areas where you can give if you have a high affinity for football, tennis, golf. So those things right now are in place. And yes, we've seen a drastic change in our alumni engagement. And there's just so much excitement, man, around our program now. It's through the roof. Even with basketball, man, it's not a secret that we have our
Yeah.
family, that Miller family. They
Right.
Percy Miller's been involved. Master P's been involved in so many different business arenas. I've spoken to him. He's fully engaged, and man, it's exciting in Nashville, Tennessee, to say the least.
So, new look with the logo,
Hmm.
new head football coach coming in, a new area of fundraising that you've experienced since the news of Eddie George being the head coach. What else is on the horizon for Tennessee State athletics that we may not be aware of that you might be able to share with us?
Yeah, you talked about our new branding. That was important to me. That I came in, and what I did, the first thing I wanted to make sure that we modernized our look. So we changed our website, our interface. It's very user friendly. TSUTigers.com. We have changed some of the branding. We've updated our logos. We've cleaned them up. They were great. We've honored the historic Tiger logo. We'll use that in spaces, but we do have a new Tiger head logo that we feel that fits what we're trying to do from a branding perspective. And so we'll use that in a lot of different areas on apparel. We're making a big push to make sure that we have the apparel available for our fans. There's an outcry that, hey, where can we get, anything coming from Roar City from an apparel standpoint. So we have a partnership with Nike to date. We celebrate that. And so we're looking at that. But, we've had a Big Blue network that we've introduced. If you've paid attention to our website, there's some areas that you can find. What we have now is the first 27. So we have 3 episodes that we worked on when Eddie was introduced as head coach. We have the press conference that really gives you the behind the scenes view of what he was feeling and how, it takes you from when he was putting his tie on to when he got on stage. And that can be found at tsusportsnetwork.com. Check those out. So I think it's important that you have we got the cameras live, man. We're rolling, man. We're bringing you inside, and we want to have original content that really celebrates not only the Eddie George hire, but what our young people are doing. We have a lot of talent on our campus, from our volleyball team, from our track and field team. Coach Cheeseborough is Olympian in herself. So I told him day one, I got here, I'm going to celebrate everything we're doing, all aspects of our program in ways that are unique, but in ways that we can get people to understand the great things that our student athletes and our head coaches are trying to get done at a prominent institution. And that's what we're going to do, Ken.
Okay. And then finally, and I'll end it on this note, and I've got to ask, and I think I may know the answer to this with respect to all of these schools that have been moving back and forth. There's been, conference realignment, teams, Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman left the MEAC to go to the SWAC and so forth. We've seen it with the WAC and the Atlantic Sun, and it's happened quite a bit at the FCS level. I'm sure you've heard, you may have gotten this question before about the future of Tennessee State. Where does the program stand right now with respect to staying in the Ohio Valley as opposed to maybe looking at other options in the future?
Yeah, well, we've definitely been open to hearing other conferences. There's been a couple of conferences that approach us. I know the Big South and the ASUN. We've been approached by them, but right now we're steadfast in just making sure that we enhance the profile of our program. from facilities to leadership to, competitive, bringing that culture and that competitive environment to our campus. So, once those calls come into us, we're taking them. We've heard from various ones. I mean, when I got here, the first thing was presented to me, hey, Doc, are we going? Can we go to the SWAC? And so that's a conference I have not talking. I have not got a call from, but there's a lot of proud HBCUs there, and I've called a lot of those ADs and those at those institutions, so we definitely want to play them in classics or home and home matchups. So I definitely want to make sure that we, always honor, our HBCU heritage. That's extremely important to me. There's a great AD there at Alabama State. She's great. We play Grambling here upcoming in the Black Pro Football Hall of Fame. So that's a great matchup. And President Glover and I are committed to that. But right now, we're just looking at, being the best OVC member institution that we can be. And, I've communicated that to our coaches. I've communicated to our young people. I think that we have to have a forward view and just say, hey, we control the controllables. We're in the OVC and we want to be the best OVC member institution we could possibly be.
Dr. Mikki Allen, Director of Athletics at Tennessee State University. Thank you so much, sir, for taking a few moments to talk to me.
No problem, Ken.